Hello and welcome everyone to the Empowerment Empire show, where we help empower you to create positive change in your life and business. So my name's Lisa and I am your host today. Now on today's show we've got a beautiful lady from Arizona, and I know that you're going to absolutely love her. She's got so much passion for what she does. And our mission is all about empowering females to step up as leaders. So if that sounds like something you are interested in learning more about, then you're definitely going to want to listen into today's show. So I would like to welcome the beautiful Mandelynn Moses onto the show. Mandelynn, how are you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great.
Good, fabulous. So Mandelynn is a transformational business mentor. So she's going to explain or tell you a little bit more about what she does. And before we get too deep into the business side of things, why don't you, Mandelynn, tell us just a little bit about who you are?
So I am a transformation business mentor, and I kind of started this journey. Really a couple of years ago. I was working, I did this mastermind, and I was bringing people into my home, really helping them take their dreams and making them reality. And it's just crazy over the years, everything's kind of transformed into what I'm doing now, which is my real passion, which is really helping women step out of their story of adversity and all the things that hold us back and really step into our power so we can create more powerful female leaders, because I feel like that's what this world is starving for right now is feminine leadership. And so I'm really excited to be part of that movement. I live here in Phoenix, or I guess Scottsdale, Arizona. And I've got two daughters who they're both in college right now. And I live here with my partner, Paul, and we've created this business together, and it's just been a really exciting journey for us.
Wow, fantastic. So how did you come about it? What's your background?
So my background is crazy. So I came from a very difficult childhood, like many of us, right? And I came after I left my family. I divorced my family when I was 15 years old, and I had my first daughter 3 weeks before I turned 15. And so I was a very young mother. And then I ended up with her father. He became very abusive once after I left my family and moved in with him. He became very abusive and an alcoholic. So for most of my life, it was really rough. And then I had my second daughter when I was 16. So, but for me, I always just kept trucking on. I still graduated from high school and graduated from college. And I always had this like fiery spirit inside of me to be doing more. And 7 years ago was when I was finally able to leave that relationship for good. It wasn't an easy transition, but what I really learned from that experience is how we can get so caught up in our story of what holds us back in life and really becoming a victim and not realizing that you're playing a victim role. Like, when you come from a situation like mine of domestic abuse, it is easy to say, that you're being abused, because you are.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what I realized, this gift that I feel like God gave me that really helped me push through to where I'm at today, was the gift of awareness and accountability. And when I really took a step back to finally listen to God, in my words, I was able to take ownership of my life, and I was able to turn things around. And so to be able to sit here, I'm 35 years old, and both of my daughters are in college, and one of them is going to be a lawyer, another one is studying communications. And to really sit here and look at my life, like, because now I look at my life in awe of like how I've created this, and being able to step out of that victim mentality, being able to face my fears every single day is what it's allowed me to really create this beautiful life that I have now. And so I'm so passionate about helping other people do the same thing.
Wow, what an incredible story. Again, of course, as you said, now what you're doing is you're sitting here on a daily basis looking at your life thinking, wow, how incredible it is. So would you say that now, obviously your life is completely different from what it was, but would you say that you live more intentionally? Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Absolutely. I don't feel like it's talked about enough. It's not taught enough about really living life intentionally. And in order to change our life, we have to understand the intention behind every thought, every word, every action. Everything has to have an intention behind it. And I've studied the Course in Miracles, and there's two states, and the two states are love or fear, and you can never be in both at the same time. You're either in one or the other. And if we can keep our intentions always in a state of love, we're able to create a really beautiful life for ourselves. But sometimes when it's like writing on the line, it's really hard to discern if it's a state of love or it's a state of fear. Because if we make decisions accidentally or intentionally in a state of fear, what we do is push more fear out onto the world. So when we're able to live life more intentionally, we're able to really look at our lives as what it is that we want to create for ourselves, but also how that impacts the world, the collectiveness in general. And that's how we really should be looking at life, how it really impacts the entire world.
Yeah, true. So a mission or a cause much bigger than just yourself. So something much bigger than you that you can contribute towards. But how do people, so if any listeners listening in today, how can they begin living their lives more intentionally?
I'm going to start with this, one of my favorite quotes. I love Rumi, he's my favorite poet. And one of his quotes was, "Yesterday I was clever and decided to change the world. And today I was wise and I decided to change myself." And we all have like these big visions to really want to go out there and make a big difference in the world, but making that big difference in a world really starts with our own selves, with our own households, how we can make a difference in our own lives. And to really look at things, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out there. This might be a little controversial, but
go for it. We're happy to hear.
Those who will get to know me well, no, I don't really shy away from the controversial stuff. But for instance, the the hashtag Me Too that came out a couple months ago, that everybody kind of jumped on the bandwagon for. And and it's a beautiful thing that people really want to come out and tell their stories. But what is the intent behind the stories? Because what ended up happening, as we saw in the world as a collective, what it did was it made men fearful. It made men fearful, right? So if we're speaking out in a state of fear because we're still in that victim mentality, we're still not yet aware of really aware of why we're speaking out, and we're just pushing our fear onto others, we're not making the impact on the planet that we set out to do. And we're like, well, why did this end up happening? Because it goes back to our intention. Was the intention out of a state of love, or was it in a state of fear? If it's in a state of fear, we just push that onto other people. If it's in a state of love, we push that love onto other people. So it's about really going back and saying, like, what is the message here that I'm trying to relay? I tell my clients all the time, it's a when we relate it to business, right? You've got a client, you've got a phone number here, and you need to call them and pick them up and maybe offer your services to this client, right? Are you picking up the phone because you've got bills to pay, you've got your mortgage or your rent is due next week and you don't know how you're going to pay it, the lights are about to shut off and you're short on funds? So are you calling that client because you're stressed out that you need money? Or are you you might be in the same exact situation, but you're picking up that phone because you can really serve this person. You really know you can help that person. It's the same phone call, the same situation, but the intent behind that phone call is going to make all the difference on the results you're going to get back from that person on the other end of the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. That's spot on. Definitely. I love that. Yeah, so it's a positive intent behind it. So, and there can be, I'm sure there are positive intent behind absolutely everything that you do, but how if people are struggling with this, Mandelynn, how can they push through that resistance of, how can they step forward if it's something that they're struggling with? Does that make sense?
It's a beautiful question, because it's a difficult, it's really difficult, because sometimes not even sometimes, I want to say many times, being in a state of love is extremely fearful. It's not that, it's 90% of the time, it's not the easy choice to make. And so, one question that I always ask myself when it comes to when I'm feeling resistance, if I'm feeling resistance about something, that's a surefire way to know that you're on the right path, right? And so if I'm feeling resistance for something, I always stop and ask myself, am I going to have to do this at some point? Am I going to have to do this at some point? The answer is always yes, right? So instead of creating worry and anxiety in my life, knowing that I'm just procrastinating and putting this off for a later time because I don't want to have to deal with it right now, I ask myself, am I going to have to do this at some point? The answer is yes. So then, of course, if those of you who might have read the book, The 5-Second Rule, you take a deep breath, you count backwards from 5, and you just do it. Like, you just do it, because there's no other way around it, right? And you build confidence through your actions. And worry is just a symptom of indecision, right? So if at that moment you decide not to decide, if you decide to procrastinate, you create all this chaos, because the universe is always trying to pull you in the right direction of remembering who you are. So if you avoid that decision at that moment, everything that's going to come back at you in the outside world is going to constantly try and tug you back in that decision. And as we know, if we don't listen, the tests get harder and harder and harder and harder until we're flat-faced on the ground, right? So to avoid being flat-faced on the ground, just do it in the moment.
So that's quite a good few top tips there. So you could say, like, the rate or the speed of your success, if you like, if we were talking in terms of business, the rate of your success could be determined by the rate at which you make the decisions. So if you decide quickly, decide to move on, decide to take action, decide to live intentionally, decide to come from a place of love, if you decide, then you'll move forward quicker. So like you said, you're actually building confidence within yourself as you take that consistent action through making decisions. Is that what
absolutely. Your success, if it was boiled down to only one thing, your success is equal to your ability to make decisions. If it's only one thing. So if there's only one thing in this world that you master, it better be your ability to make decisions. And so many times, I say this as women, we have a hard time implementing, right? It's like we have a decision. Oh my gosh, I got to call my friends and ask for advice on this. I've got to call, if you have a mentor or coach, I got to call my mentor and coach. I've got to do this. I got to do this, because we've got this whole fear of failure, right? This fear of, especially women these days. And it's based, this is just how our society is run. Everything is based on our image, how we look, how we're perceived in the world. But that's not going to get us anywhere, right? Our ability to make decisions and think for ourselves is really what is going to drive your success.
Yeah. So how can people get out of their own head, if that makes sense? Because I think sometimes, you know, like you, I've you know, perhaps spoke to clients about situations like this before, and I feel that they can often be stuck in their own head, and they create more problems for themselves instead of solutions. So is there something that they can do to try and get them more in alignment, or get clearer, or into their heart instead of their head? Or do you get any advice on anything like that?
Absolutely. You know, the key to that is really to get into a place where you are constantly responding to life and not reacting to life. And that really does come down to your rituals. And every client that I have, and it's so funny because 100% of them, they are so resistant to it. But I am like a stickler about your morning ritual. Because most people wake up the first thing they do is check their phone, check their emails, check Facebook, When you do that, you wake up reacting to the universe. You're a constant state of reaction. So all day long, it sets you up for being in a state of reaction. In the morning, you wake up, the very first thing you do is you allow yourself some space for silence. You allow yourself a space for contemplation, really being able to getting into that 2% club of really planning out your day. So the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is really getting centered and grounded. Like, what is your intention for the day? What do I intend to do today? What do I intend to create today? And if you practice that daily of getting centered from the heart in the very beginning of the morning, I am telling you that will change your life, because you're constantly making decisions in response rather than reaction.
Yeah, great. That's a great top tip. Yep, and I love morning rituals. So I like to, you know, perhaps someone could even do some meditation, or gratitude journals, or so there's lots of things that people could select, positive affirmations. So I suppose they could do something that is good for them, that fits well with who they are, and then that way that they might be more likely to stick to it. Would you say that would be fair?
Yeah, so absolutely. So there's a book out there called The Miracle Morning, which really breaks down what like the ideal morning. So I've kind of revised it a little bit for myself, but like the very first thing that I do in the morning is really get silent. So one thing too that I study, which I am researching on my own how to bring this out, bring more awareness, I guess, to the world on this, is gene keys, which really it's finding your higher purpose hidden in your DNA. And so I contemplate my gene keys, like really about myself and how I relate. So it's really a meditation of me contemplating my own personal journey. So I contemplate that in silence. If someone is dealing with like issues, which most of my clients, of course, when they first start working with me, are dealing with issues of self-worth, I have them do tapping in the mirror. So tapping the body and showering yourself with praise, so you can work on receiving, work on bringing up the blocks, and really getting inside the body. So that's something you could do first thing in the morning, really showering yourself with love. And then after that, I've got affirmations that I work on. Then I write. Writing is in the first part. And then when I'm getting ready in the morning, I put on my audiobook. That's how I read. So really getting yourself set, and then that sets the tone for the rest of the day.
Yep. Excellent. So that you're ready to take on any challenges that come your way in a positive, more powerful way, if you like. Excellent. Great. So, wow, I've actually got my pen here. If everybody could see me, I'm writing lots and lots of notes. I'm taking lots away from it. So, is there anything else that you feel that you could add, or any additional top tips that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, you know, one thing that, especially with this year, you know, it's the beginning of the
Yeah.
year, so it's like something that um, I feel is so important to
Mm-hmm.
touch on all year long, but also in that morning, really setting down what your goals, like, you know, your morning ritual should also be about really reflecting on your goals. And it's not necessarily like, because every time and this really goes along with living intentionally, because if you're not living intentionally to what the big picture of your life looks like, which means breaking down your goals into to small little pieces
Mm-hmm.
and conquering those every single day, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to get to where you want to go, because at the end of the day, you just have a wish, you have a dream, it's not anything tangible.
Yeah.
So living life intentionally is really understanding what it is that you really want to create. I'm really big about a legacy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
for me, when I die, I really want the world to know who I am, and I want my mission
Yeah.
to be going on much, you know,
Yeah.
much longer when I've passed,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I'm here to create. But the only way to be able to create that is really being able to live intentionally, with understanding every single day what you need to do in order to achieve that bigger goal. And so I feel like most of us, you know, I ask women, oh, do you guys all have goals? Oh yeah, 100% of people raise their hand and say, yeah, I've got goals. Or are you on, I've done 3 workshops and speaking events this year so far, and I every single time I did it intentionally. How many of you guys are on track for, you know, reaching your goals? 100% of people raise their hand. But then there's this true factual statistic called the 2% club, that only 2% of people do that. And then we look at the people who control all the money, which is 1 to 2% of the world, and then you
Yeah.
have to think, how many of those people that control all the money of the 1 to 2% actually plan out their day? I'm going to say 100% of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you really got to live your life intentionally to break down your goals, so your every single day is in intention to that legacy you want to leave.
Mm-hmm. Fabulous. So for the wonderful women who will be listening in today, if they wanted to reach out to you, you know, to work with you, or to, you know, call upon you for support and advice, how would they do that?
Yeah, so our website is in a bit of a transition, because I'm taking a little bit of a different direction in my business right now. So the best way to reach out to me is definitely through Facebook, which is you know, facebook.com/Mandelynn.Moses.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got tons and tons and tons of content on Facebook and YouTube, but Facebook is the best way to contact me.
Okay. And obviously, is there a community or anything that you're able to welcome the ladies into, or that you could tell them more about? Have you got any workshops or events or anything like that going on at the moment?
Yeah, so yeah, if you join, if you friend me on Facebook,
Yep.
we've got events where I'm recovering from a surgery right now, so I've been really allowing myself to ground
Okay.
this last month,
Yeah.
which is really great. So I don't have anything on the books as of right now, but monthly we're going to be doing in-person workshops, as well as I'm going to start implementing doing virtual workshops, because I have a lot of people that are following me from all over the
Yes.
world. Because this year I am all about building a community of women, because I really feel that we need that,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
people that I attract. Oh, I get along better with men, right? But there's a reason for that. Women, we need to come together.
Yes.
So if you join me on Facebook, you'll be super aware of all that. Plus, if you also reach out at info@soulconnectcoaching.com,
Okay.
we can send you um, some information and keep you on our mailing list for future events.
Oh, fabulous. Excellent. Superb. Well, it's been incredible. I've absolutely loved listening to your story and all those top tips that you've given everybody. As I said, I've taken lots of notes about, you know, instead of, you know, respond to life, don't react to life, and, you know, all about the morning rituals and stepping into our power and taking ownership of life. And so lots of things that I'm definitely going to take away after speaking to you today. So I can't thank you enough for coming on to the show to share your passions, your mission, your cause with all of our listeners. So thank you very much, Mandelynn.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Like, things like this are just so beautiful.
Yes.
Because when we work together like this, we really amplify the message. You know, it's like it's like creating a domino effect. And when we work together as women as a whole like this, and come together rather than, you know, in a mode of competition, so to speak, we really are able to make a big difference. And so thank you so much for having me on.
So we're definitely coming from a place of intention, where we're coming from an intention of love. So sharing with other women from all over the world is instead of fear or resistance.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Okay, thank you once again, and thank you so much to everyone for listening in today. I will pop Mandelyn's details in the show notes, so our email address and our Facebook contact details, so that you can reach out should you wish to reach out and ask any more questions or connect with Mandelynn on Facebook as well. So thanks again, everyone, and have an incredible day. Speak soon.